Hello, welcome to Somerset News Network. Hang on a minute. Let me sort this out a minute and zoom in a little bit. Is that better? Sign's the right way round and I'm a bit tighter, that's it. That'll do. A lot of backlight. I'll just turn the lights on. Hang on a sec. Hey! Yeah, I should sing a song now. I'm in the limelight. Limelight comes from the stage because they used to have white lime candles, which was, I think it was acetylene, and they call it limelight on stage. That's where it used to come from in the old days. Right, the budget. I want to talk about the budget. Now, I'm not a financier, and I'm not sure if I've got this right, but this is my understanding at the moment. I reserve the right to be wrong, but this is my take on it. The personal allowance is £12,500 a year. A personal tax allowance, that is. Now, it normally goes up with inflation, and there's a chart for it. Whatever inflation goes up, that should go up as well. Sometimes it goes up a little bit more, especially if we're heading for an election. So if we've had no increase in the individual personal tax allowance and your wages go up, you're paying more tax. So let's relate the personal tax allowance to your wages. Now, we know that the minimum wage is £12.21 an hour. Well, if you work 40 hours, that's £25,000 a year, just over. I think it's £396 or something. But let's say 25k, right? Well, if you've only got £12.21 tax allowance, minimum wage, that's what you will be paid, 25k a year. But your allowance before you start paying tax means that everybody over 21 who's on minimum wage will now be paying tax. Governments in the past used to take low wage earners out of paying tax. This is what they did because they were considered the poorest in society. So if you're on minimum wage, you're classed as the poorest in society, which is 25k a year. I don't earn that. I earn over 12, so I pay tax. But I don't earn over 25, and I'm running a small business. But what cuts my personal allowance down is my pension fund. That is classed now as income, so that wipes out my entire personal tax allowance. So any money I earn, I pay money on, which means I've had to put my prices up so that I can afford the taxes at the end of the year. It's craziness. So that means that everybody over 21 is now paying tax. So the lower wage earners, which is what the minimum wage was supposed to be, to make sure you have the minimum wage, are now paying taxes. Where in the past, if you had the minimum wage, you didn't start paying tax till you earned a few £1,000s more a year. I had that with me. In the late 70s, early 80s, I was on a staggering sum of £37 a week. I paid national insurance, but I didn't pay any tax. Then I had a pay rise. to £45 a week. Oh, I thought I was wonderful. No. I then started paying tax. So at an £8 pay rise, national insurance contributions. Well, I've got no problem with national insurance. That's what you pay. But they started taking tax off. So that £8 extra pay rise, I only saw a fiver of it. Because I started paying tax. But lower wage earners now, if you're a low wage earner, it's 25k a year. You shouldn't have to pay tax on minimum wage. The tax allowance should be over minimum wage. So the tax allowance should be, say, 25,000, which is the minimum wage, or even 30,000. So you earn just that little bit more if you work a couple of days overtime. You know, we're going backwards, we're not going forward. I thought Labour was here for the working man, the lower paid worker, the white, great blue collar workers they call us. All we're doing is penalising and paying more tax now, with money that we haven't got to start with. It's just wrong. And we can't trust Rachel Reeves or Starmer. Oh, Starmer. Man with as much personality as a slug. Got his tune here.
He's a real nowhere man, sitting in his nowhere land, making all his nowhere plans for nobody.
I had to do that. I could not get away with that. What Starmer got in common with Hitler and Stalin and Mussolini? Yeah, it's an honest question. What has Starmer got in common with Mussolini, Stalin and Hitler? Now we knew they were all tyrants, and Starmer's a tyrant as well. They all stopped jewellery service, trial by jury. How about that one then? That's a good one for the quiz programmes, isn't it? Right. Fuel tax. They've now put fuel tax, well, a tax on EVs per mile. Because if you've got an electric car, you pay for your electric, but you're not paying any road tax. So they want you to pay per mile. And at the moment, Rachel Reeves said it's 0.3p a mile, 3 pence a mile. Now, if you've got a hybrid, a plug-in hybrid, you've got an engine on it, diesel or petrol, and you've got an electric battery, but you have to charge the battery up. So you might charge it up at home or at a public charging point like a services or a garage. You will be paying 1.5p a mile. Now, if you're paying for petrol, you're paying per mile anyway, because you've got fuel tax on the fuel that you buy. So you're paying the road tax anyway. And you're paying per mile because the more miles you do, the more petrol you buy or more diesel you buy. Logic. But if you've got a plug-in hybrid, do you pay the 1.5p on the electric used? Or is it on all travel? So you're paying at the pump. your excise duty, and then you're paying £1.50 a mile on top of that, so you're charged twice. That's unfair. That is totally unfair. I can understand them saying, oh, if you've got electric, and I expect there's a computer on the car, it'll tell you how many miles the electric does. As the electric car, and I've got a black box. And if that black box can tell you how many miles you've done on the electric battery, then that's what you should be charged, and it shouldn't be charged any more than an EV. So you should be charged 3p a mile on top. That would be fair. But to charge you 1.5p a mile on all the mileage you do, even when you use your fuel engine to travel, that's extortion. That is not fair. Right. Next question. I don't know the answer to this, and I'm still looking into it. What happens if you've got a rechargeable hybrid? Which means you don't plug it in to charge the electric battery. The car will charge your electric battery as you're driving. When you hit town and your speed drops, a friend of mine's got one. He's got an SUV, got battery and a fuel engine. On the motorway, the engine kicks in. When he comes off the motorway and he goes down to 30 miles, under 30 miles an hour, the electric kicks in. So he drives around town on electric. And then when he gets back on the motorway and speeds up and does 70 miles an hour, he's back on the engine again. But travelling around like he does around the countryside, up around the Cotswolds where he is, he's figured out that he's not paying for electric because it's not a plug-in. So his electric is free, although he's got a battery. He's paying the road tax on the fuel that he buys. But instead of doing 37, 40 miles an hour like his old SUV that was petrol, which was diesel only, this one is doing 140 miles to the gallon. So he's paying a third of the rent, the tax, to travel 3 times the miles. Or the fuel that he buys that would have been around 40 miles an hour, 40 miles a gallon, is now 140 miles, which is over 3 times as much. But how they're not going to charge him because it's not a plug-in. So if you want an EV, you either get an EV and pay 3p a mile, or you buy a rechargeable EV with a diesel engine and get 120, 140 miles a gallon out of it and don't pay any more road tax. It's simple. Rachel Reeves, I don't think she could figure this out. Rachel from accounts. I'm going to have to get her a tune, isn't I? I don't quite know what I'm going to use for Rachel yet, but I'm working on it. I've got a few tunes in my head, but they don't quite fit. Rachel from accounts, I don't think they've thought this one out. Now, people in the know, and the lobbyists and bloggers this morning on YouTube, were saying that the petrol industry has lobbied the government, saying that the EVs should pay their road tax as well as petrol cars, and the government has gone along with it. Now, I got to admit, the people that are telling me this are evangelists. They're EV evangelists. They got Teslas and things like that. And they don't want to pay the tax because they've had it for free. for so long. But we've got to have a fair taxation system. So they haven't put your personal allowance up. So if you've got a wage rise, you're still paying more tax. They put EV tax on EVs now. But that's unfair because hybrids are paying more than just a standard EV. That's a plug-in hybrid, that is. But then rechargeable hybrids aren't being charged, as far as I can see. I think it's unfair. And somebody's got to start screaming and shouting and saying, hey, hang on a minute. This isn't fair. We can't do this. Anyway, that's my take on the budget. Ian, Somerset News Network, bye-bye for now.